again, we're kind of going back and forth a little bit in our discussion, but I'm an advocate for people that are building a retirement. You want to build that and put that, you want your portfolio to be healthy when you're building for retirement, meaning you don't want too much risk in the, you want to remove as much risk out of the portfolio. Well, what are you talking about? How do you do that? Well, you want to have some small caps, some mid caps, some large caps, some international, some bonds. Because what happens in a portfolio mix like that is it's what we call an inverse relationship. So sometimes how each nation has handled the COVID-19 has a lot to do with how well the nation is doing. So some international places have handled better than America has. So international stocks have an opportunity to grow and do better. So it's an inverse, meaning they're the opposite. When stocks are up, bonds are down. When bonds are up, stocks are down. And you can't determine that or pick that. So you have a little bit of that in there because it's a hedge, it's a protection. And so you want to have a little bit of exposure to all of those in there. You don't want to be too heavily weighted in one area. And the other thing many times is that people are unaware of, as you're learning and you're doing this, you want to make sure that many times you have, let's say you have a small cap and a mid cap manager that are buying stocks. If they both like Google and they're both buying Google, you may have that in your small cap and your mid cap, or your mid cap and your large cap, because they'll nibble outside of their discipline sometimes if they like it. So that's many times what we call bloating. The fund's bloating and they're getting into things that they shouldn't. So that's a lot more technical, but it's stuff that you want to be able to begin to learn, begin to look at, begin to get tools and see, because you want a well-diversified portfolio when you're talking about your retirement. On the other side, when we're talking about doing stocks and buying stocks and trying to just pick some of those, you've got to do your research on the companies. You've got to find out about them and do as much as you can to know, because there's just no guarantee when you buy something.
I guess since Apple is nibbling away at $2 trillion value, I guess that would be a big cap.
That's definitely a large cap company. They just hit the first
right
company
at it.
I just saw that the other day, and it's amazing. I mean, that's fascinating to see. And that's the one that we're all looking for to buy and say, I got that at $10 a share.
Yeah. Well, even people that bought it when they thought it had reached its peak, and that was not too long ago. And then they said, well, the new phones, the 5Gs, they're too expensive, they won't go, and it's not enough there. Then suddenly, bam, there they go. So
and
who
again,
knows?
That's a great point to interject something here that I think is important in investing. All of the experts and all the things that I were reading said there's nowhere for Apple to go.
Right.
They've dominated the market so much. They're their own sector almost. I mean, you've got, different sectors, and Apple's almost its own sector. So they've dominated so much, there's really no more growth for them to go. Yeah. So all the experts and all the tools and everybody really got that wrong. And we thought, well, they're done. That's pretty much it. They're solid, but they're not going to really grow. Well, they did. And they grew beyond what we thought was the high point of that stock. That's where I always tell people, you cannot predict these things. Even with research, we just don't know whether somebody's going to fly a plane into a building, whether a pandemic. That's why it's fun to buy stock and it's fun to do research, but you've got to also have your discipline. You cannot invest without a discipline, and you've got to maintain that discipline, or you're going to lose somewhere in this game, because it's a sum total game.
Yep. It's if anybody had an automatic answer, I would like for them to become my friend.
Yes, exactly.
So because you can't fail,
No.